is that level of thinking that we want businesses, American businesses, to partner with the African diaspora to move into the big initiatives that are available, and they need us to come in at that level. No more shall we think small. So to the American business community, I say, the United States remains the preferred trading partner by the African leaders. Hands down, no discussion.
This is the journey to OneAfrica.
Africa is creating billions of jobs for the world. Of all the natural resources that we have, we are not adding value to not even one. We are not dictating the price of not even one. 65% of the world cocoa comes from West Africa. The two largest producers being Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. Thanks to Berlin Conference, one speaks French and the other speaks English. So for centuries, they were being made to compete with each other for decades, when all they had to do was say, my brother, my sister, please, we need to come together. Let's dictate the price of cocoa. To this day, they don't dictate the price of cocoa. The city of Cadbury in the United Kingdom is built from the cocoa beans from West Africa. The city of Hershey, same thing. Why haven't we demanded that there be a city in West Africa that's built from our own cocoa beans? Can you imagine how many jobs could be created by the cocoa industry alone? And yet we eat chocolate bars that have been manufactured outside Africa. We end up being just consumers. So when it comes to the youth unemployment, if we just re-strategize and begin to say we add value to our natural resources before they leave the continent, and that can only happen when we speak with one voice. Currently, they're going to negotiate with Malawi. And if Malawi doesn't play ball, they just go to Eswatini. And if Eswatini doesn't play ball, they just go to Kenya. They go to Egypt. Because we are divided, we're not able to speak with one voice. If we can stop the bleeding of jobs out of Africa by those simple measures, value addition to our natural resources. Have you ever imagined if we could just say everything that requires coltan in Africa must be manufactured in Africa? In the next 10 years, this country is expected to manufacture 10 million electric cars. The same is true in India. The same is true in Europe. And they're all looking to coltan coming from Africa because the batteries need coltan. If we just make that simple demand, that nothing with coltan. So you see how quickly we can address the issues of unemployment.
Right.
So that's why the African Continental Free Trade Area is a welcome decision that's going to allow us to negotiate better and create the jobs that are badly needed on our continent. And we need to stop creating jobs for the rest of the world except us.
Not to put a pause on that, but more to keep it going. Olivier, something that is rather very interesting with you and the African Global Chamber of Commerce is you're not only looking at doing business as just a formality, but you're looking at youth empowerment and women empowerment. One thing that is true to Africa as well, just like she mentioned, is unemployment is going through the roof. And that has for long been put on the back of education that is not, targeted, say, in the manufacturing industry or agriculture. I am from Rwanda. I say that a lot of times. But our economy, 80% of the jobs, actually 80% of the GDP in Rwanda, if I'm not mistaken, is from agriculture. Right now, if you look at who's participating in the agriculture sector in the country, largely 40 years plus, our parents, the young people are not so much involved. But how do we now turn education around, empower the youth, yes, make it interesting for them to be in these industries and in our culture, because we're not going to let that go. And it is something that we must actually hold on to. So how do we do that? How do you see yourself and the Chamber of Commerce coming into that conversation?
Michael, thank you so much for your excellent question. As you know, a young population, youth and women represents over 65% of the population of Africa. Africa being a younger continent, also having young population, that itself represents an opportunity and at the same time challenges. For us here at the Africa Global Chamber of Commerce, we believe that if we are going to transform Africa, it is important to really to focus on education, innovation, and technology. So move around and focus on the agriculture, because 60% of arable land globally is located in Africa. So 60%, basically, Africa can feed Africa itself, also feed the world. We're doing export in agriculture. So if now we really mobilize the youth around technology, around agriculture, as you know, technology is a cross-cutting sector that we can use in agriculture, education, so on and so forth. So that's why we really believe that technology, innovation, right, is going to help, especially the youth today. We live in a social media era where youth are being connected globally. So today you cannot tell the youth what they have to do. They know already. What they need from us is to empower them, to equip them with the tools to be able to excel in what they are doing. That's why since last year, 2018, the African Global Chamber of Commerce, through our program called Youth Entrepreneurship Initiative, we launched what we call US Africa Youth Entrepreneurship Initiative, or we launched the summit last year at the University of Chicago. We invited 35 countries in Africa to connect with US youth so that American young people and African young people can connect. Around them, we brought investors to invest in them in the area of technology, agriculture, and the tourism, because we believe tourism also is a cross-cutting sector whereby you can address issue for infrastructure, you can address issue of manufacturing, the issue of education, so on and so forth. So that's really a kind of work we are doing really to address issue of youth in Africa. Some of you have learned how the unemployment is driving African young people to cross the Mediterranean to go to Europe for seeking a better life. Many people are dying crossing the ocean. So we believe that private sector has a role to play. That's why our Africa Global Chamber of Commerce, we have launched this program. We are doing 1 year here in the US, the year after in Africa, like next year in September 10 and September 11th, we will be in Ghana. We are bringing youth across the 50 states in America. We'll take them to Africa because we believe American youth has so much to learn from Africa. Africa has so much to offer to America. That's why we want to take our youth here in America to go to the continent to learn what's going on the continent. Right. That's initiative. Ghana government has accepted to host this initiative. I was in Ghana 2 days ago. So I have received assurance that they are going to host us. Those are some of initiatives we are taking to address issue of unemployment because we believe people here are entrepreneurs. We You can help them. We believe if you can mentor, provide mentorship to those young people, can be very, very helpful.
Americans have a lot to learn from Africa, and Africa has a lot to offer. Ambassador, help us reiterate this. Help us build a business case for investors that are in the room today, Africans that are enthusiastic about what the continent has to offer. What could that look like?
Let me start by saying money alone put into Africa is not going to deliver the Africa that we want. Let me give you an example of healthcare, an area that I know well. If all the African American doctors and all the continental African doctors were to go home to Africa today, we're only going to meet about 30% of the need. So no amount of money put into Africa for healthcare, and that the same is true with education, infrastructure, agriculture, is going to deliver the results that we want. Let's be realistic about one thing. Africa does not have the capacity that Africa needs to build herself. Africa does not have the funds that Africa needs to build herself. However, the capacity that Africa needs is in the diaspora. The funds that Africa needs in order to actualize what we have is in the diaspora. 1 million people with $1,000, that's $1 billion. Now let's do that here in and here out. For the businesses that are here, everybody's playing small. I want you to know that the continental projects that are getting ready to be rolled out, they are massive projects that neither one of you, no matter how big your business is big enough to handle those continental projects. These are projects that we as Black people have never had access to. We only hear of them when the entity is built. We hear of them when we're ready to drive through this highway. We're looking at building the Cape to Cairo highway, the Cape to Cairo high-speed rail, the Senegal to Djibouti highway, high-speed rail. We're talking about no more shall we grow wheat for Kenya, for Nigerians. We're talking about how many metric tons of wheat are needed to feed 1.27 billion people. We set out to grow the wheat. We'll have farms in each region. We're talking about how many kilometers of rail do we need to move goods and people around the entire continent. So we are elevating our thinking to continental. And what do 1.27 billion people need? This is something that even businesses are struggling to grasp. Because even as I have conversations, people start talking, but they just drift back down to a country. No. What is needed are these massive enterprises that are going to address the basic needs of 1.27 billion people. Access to water, access to power, feeding the continent, tourism. People must enjoy themselves. What are going to be the hotspots in each region? And how are we going to transport our people there? It's that level of thinking that we want businesses, American businesses, to partner with the African diaspora to move into the big initiatives that are available, and they need us to come in at that level. No more shall we think small. So to the American business community, I say, the United States remains the preferred trading partner by the African leaders. Hands down, no discussion. The United States is the only country that has a relationship with Africa that's beyond trade. The US and Africa are married. They have children together. So whether you like it or not, you cannot separate the United States from Africa. We have that heritage relationship because of the African Americans. It's a relationship that we should take advantage of. Let's join hands. The American business community needs to wake up. That's another thing. We're still finding businesses that are questioning, well, security. don't listen to those people who try to keep you from going to Africa. Because the ones that will tell you that they have not had a chance to go and experience what is going on in Africa. If you go into any flight into Africa today, the majority of the people in those planes don't look like you and I. The flights within Africa, the majority of people in those planes within Africa don't look like you and I. But sadly, the majority are coming from Europe. They're not coming from the United States. So that's something else we need to make sure that we let the American business community, white people, black people, Chinese, American business community must wake up to what is going on in Africa. So to the business community, it's about collaborations, it's about understanding our Africa, it's about understanding the opportunities that are available. Let's join hands as people who are married, and married in such a way that if we work on this marriage and we understand each other as equals, this is a marriage that can give us not only many children, but many beautiful children. So the American business community, I say, wake up. It is a new day in Africa, and there's a lot going on that you need to be part of.
Indeed. A round of applause for that. About last month, something rather very interesting happened, and I can't hold myself from talking about it. That had to do with a continental airline. Now we're talking about projects, continental projects. She just mentioned that it doesn't matter what kind of portfolio you're looking at today. It's not a continental portfolio or project. So this is something that calls for everybody to be involved, or those that want to be shareholders, you know. What at this moment should the people in the room learn about some of these projects? Olivia, I think I would bring this to you because this is something that I saw you and of course Ambassador Arikana spearhead. What can we learn about these projects? In depth, but you know, not too much of it. They can always look for you after.
Thank you so much. I think Her Excellency Ambassador mentioned that when she talked about Africa Continental Free Trade Area. That's most of the things you have to learn tonight, because Africa is coming with one single market, one single regional trading bloc. All 55 African nations are opening the borders so they can start trading one another. Because in the past, we used to, you produce your coffee, destination Europe. You never thought that next to you, you have Uganda, you can export from Uganda to Kenya, or you can export from Gambia to Senegal. So you take your product from Gambia, you have to take to UK, while you have your next door where you can sell your product. So today, what I'm inviting you to do, Africa is becoming a global manufacturing hub. Taking over from China is happening now. I just came from Addis Ababa. Ethiopia is becoming a manufacturing hub for Africa. So it's attracting a massive investment. People going to Ethiopia to manufacture their product away from China. Why from China? China manufacturing sector, the cost of labor is increasing every year 12%. That happened back when you remember the manufacturing used to be South Korea, then we had Japan, then in Japan we moved to China. So now there is a shift going on from China to Africa because Africa is offering young people, education is increasing. While we have something depressing, also we have something really we can emulate what's going on in the continent of Africa. The 6 out of 10, the fastest growing economies are located in the continent of Africa, right? Growing above 5% a year. So that's not happening anywhere in the world. Here in America, growth 2%, maximum 3%. Europe minus while Africa for the last 5-10 years has been consistently growing. However, the growth does not translate into development. That's what issue we have to address. That's what you are talking about. Manufacturing is a key. We have really to add the value addition. She mentioned about Cote d'Ivoire combined with Ghana. They produce over 60 or 70% of cocoa comes from Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana. The same way, 70% for coltan, the cell phones you have in your hands. The raw material called coltan to manufacture a cell phone comes from DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. So what the Congo needs is not to transform its raw material, its natural resources in add value to be able to export. So you in the room, if you go to manufacture your product on the continent, and you export back to America tax-free through Africa Growth Opportunity Act, AGOA, you have an opportunity. There is an agreement between Africa and the US to have over 6,000 products to come from Africa to US tax-free. Also, you can take advantage. You can manufacture on the continent, the export in Africa. After that, if you don't have enough market, you can also export to here. That's something really I see we can take advantage. Myself, I'm launching a manufacturing plant in Addis Ababa. I have found a partner, I'm gonna do it. So I'm really going around Africa addressing issue of affordable housing, building houses in real estate. So I become a developer. I have my friend here, Frank. Frank also, he's doing the same. She's also one of my board members. I can testify. We are chasing Africa. We are here, how much you make on a return on your investment. If you are lucky, you make 10%. When you go to Africa, you can make over 60% on your money. Why would you invest money here? Go to Africa, make more money. So, at the same time, as the ambassador said, there are some issues. We have to address those. The issue, people talk about the governance, yes, is an issue. People talk about corruption, yes, it's an issue. However, in the city of Chicago also, corruption is going on, right? So we have a way where we handle it. So when you go to Africa, make sure you work with us, with the chamber, the other institutions that can help you to really navigate the system. You make sure you understand the legal framework. You find people to partner who can help you to go through the process. Don't be afraid. Africa is open for business. Doing business is a reality. I'm really calling you to come to do business in Africa. That's something really I want to share with you. Look into agriculture, it's booming. Look into infrastructure. Right now, they are about to start the building, the highway between Cairo and Cape Town, building from Djibouti all the way to Dakar. Those are highways, railways. There is so much going on the continent of Africa. If you really you are interested, come to us. There is so many sectors: infrastructure, manufacturing, agriculture, technologies, and so on and so forth. So there is opening, market is open for business. Also, you make sure you make money. Also, you protect your asset. Thank you.
You mentioned interesting stuff. That's very, very interesting.
This is the journey to One Africa.